Welcome to Machine Setup. Today we're going to cover everything you need to know about how to set up your coffee machine so that your service can be as smooth as possible. We're going to start from the top and work our way down. So, you'll notice that our coffee machine has all of our cups living on the top of it. The reason for this is the top of the coffee machine is the warmest environment in the majority of your cafes, okay? So, we'll start with the cups on the top. The cups are always going to be bottom side down. The reason for this is because the cups want to have the warmest spot be where the coffee is going to go in. I see a lot of places where the cups live top side down. Now what this does is it does a great job of warming up the lip of the cup, but not the base where the coffee is going to go into. Always bear in mind that coffee likes a nice, warm environment. The colder the environment is, the harder the coffee is going to work to warm up its environment, thereby decreasing its actual quality because it's not staying nice and hot. We leave our cups no more than 2 high for the same reason. We don't want them going 3 high because for one thing, it looks super precarious and you're always worried that they're going to tumble over. And for another, that third cup isn't actually going to be getting warm enough to keep the coffee at its consistent temperature. The other thing you'll notice is that the handles are always pointed outwards. The reason for this is we want to make sure that it's nice and easy for us to grab our cups by the handle. We never want to be shoving our hands inside of people's coffee cups because that really puts people off. The other thing that you'll see here is that our group handles that are not in use live on top of the coffee machine. Again, for warmth. You're sensing a pattern. Moving down, I'd like to talk about what I like to call the dashboard. This is where all of your little buttons and control systems live. You've got steam wands on either side. On one end on this machine, you've got a manual steam wand. On the other end, you've got an automatic steam wand. We'll cover that a little bit later. Along the front here, you'll see that there are loads of different buttons. We can set these buttons to do all different sorts of volumes. This is an automatic volumetric machine, which means that we can set the volumes for your cafe based on your specific espresso recipe. For the sake of this machine, we've got this set so that any button that has a single cup on it does a single shot, and any button with 2 cups on it does a double shot. Makes things a lot easier and a lot more consistent. You also have a start-stop button, which is considered a manual flow button. When you turn that button on, it will continually flow water until you tell it to stop. Pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have a cup warmer. Now this means that we can produce excess heat out the top of the machine to keep your cups nice and hot. So if your cafe is in a cooler environment, you can keep your cups warm by increasing the amount of heat that is being put out the top of your coffee machine. We have a hot water tap next to that, which we don't typically use for anything other than warming up any cups that maybe don't live on top of the coffee machine. We've got a menu button here, and then we've also got our automatic steam wand. Now, this automatic steam wand can be set to do all sorts of different temperatures and levels of frothing depending on which coffees you make most often, be it flat white, latte, or cappuccino. We can also set it to do extra hot as well. Moving down, from this point forward, anything that is shiny and metal is likely very hot, so handle with care. Unless you're into that, I'm not here to judge you, just to warn you. We've got our portafilters here. We use the term portafilter or group handle. They mean exactly the same thing, so don't be worried if we use a different term than you do. The portafilters are connected to the group head. The reason why we call them group handles usually is because they're connected to the group head. Like I said, these are very, very hot, so be careful. The group handles live inside of the group head because it is, again, a very warm environment. So the coffee wants to be in contact with a warm group handle as opposed to a cold group handle. It looks really nice and tidy for them to be living on the drip tray when they're not in use, but from a production standpoint, it's a really inconvenient way to brew your coffee. We have our steam wands. Again, anything that is shiny and metal, likely very hot. If it has a rubber grip, it's best to use that. Moving down from the steam wands, you'll notice that we have a microfiber towel here. This is a damp microfiber towel. The reason it's damp is because that is the best way to keep your steam wand nice and clean in between uses. These towels, I like to say, have a bit of a separation anxiety. They don't like to live away from their steam wand. They're best friends with their steam wand, and they don't want to go too far. Your steam cloth should never move from your drip tray. It lives here and only here, yeah? So we should have one for each steam wand. I don't have one on this side, but you should if you're going to be using both steam wands. And that's pretty much the coffee machine. We'll cover quickly our grinder. The grinder is made up of a couple of different parts. We've got our hopper up here, which is where we put all of our coffee beans into. Now you'll notice that I don't have loads and loads of coffee in this. This is because coffee doesn't love to be exposed to oxygen. So we never want to put any more coffee into our hopper than what we would be using during our service. Coffee is a lot like an avocado in that it really hates oxygen. This moment it's exposed to oxygen, it starts to degrade in quality, and we lose all that nice flavor. It doesn't degrade in freshness from a health standpoint, but it doesn't taste as nice as it could. Moving down, we've got our dosing screen, which enables us to dose all of our coffee into our portafilters, which we'll go into in another video. We've also got our tamping mat and our tamp, and then we've also got a dry wiping cloth. The dry wiping cloth is meant for every time you finish brewing a coffee, you always take your group handle out. You'll give it a nice good wipe out, make sure that there are no residue of coffee left behind. And that's it. That's your standard setup for any espresso machine.